Hello everyone, this is Diveshwari. I am currently pursuing my BTech in VVIT College. I am from CSE B. Now I am going to explain about regression analysis. Regression analysis is a mathematical measure of average relationship between two or more variables. To estimate the unknown value of one variable from a known value of a relative variable is called as regression. In regression, we have two variables, dependent and independent variables. Dependent variables are the variables of whose value is to be predicted, and the independent variables are the variables which are used to predict the dependent variables. In multiple regression is a extension of regression analysis. In multiple regression, we have more than two variables. That means we'll have more independent variables. Let's take an example here. Let's take x1 is dependent variable and x2, x3 are two independent variables. And regression equation of x1 on x2 and x3 is given by x1 equals to a plus bx2 plus cx3, and its normal equations are sigma x1 equals to an plus b sigma x2 plus c sigma x3. Sigma x1 x2 equals to a sigma x2 plus b sigma x2 square plus c sigma x2 x3. Sigma x1 x3 equals to a sigma x3 plus b sigma x2 x3 plus c sigma x3 square. Here we are multiplying dependent variable with independent variables by to get a normal equations. Here let's take an example to get a clear view of multiple regression analysis. x1 x2 x1 x3 x2 x3 x2 square x3 square, here all these are used in the normal equations. By substituting these values in the normal equations, by solving those normal equations, we'll get the constant values of a b c. So here first one is x1 and x2. x1 that is 7 into 0 is 0, 18 ones 18, 17 twos 34, 22 into 1 is 22, 39 fours 156, 32 sevens 224, 25 twos 50, 23 into 0 is 0. And again x1 x3, x1 x3 means these two, x1 x3, 7 into 0 is 0, 18 twos 36, 17 ones 17, 22 threes 66, 39 fives is 195, 32 into 1 is 32, 25 threes is 75, 23 fours is 92. And x2 x3 means this one. So 0 into 0 is 0, 2, again 2, 3, 20, 7, 6 and 0. Here x2 square means 0 square is 0, 1 square is 1, 2 square 4, 1, 16, 7 square 49, 2 square again 4 and 0. And x3 square 0 square is 0, 2 square is 4, 1 square 1, 3 square 9, 5 square 25, 1 square 1, 3 square 9, and 4 square is 60. And here, as we saw, we have to find the sum of these terms. So, excuse me. We have to find the sigma, that is sum of x1, sigma x1, sigma x2, like that. So 7 plus 18 plus 17 plus 22 plus 39, 32 plus 25 plus 23. Here sigma x1 is 183. Sigma x1 is 183. In the similar way, we have to find the sum of all these terms. Sigma x2 is 17, and sigma x3 is 19, and sigma x1 x2. Sigma x1 x2 is 18 plus 34 plus 22 plus 156 plus 224 plus 50 plus 0. That is 504. And sigma x1 x3 is 36 plus 17 plus 66 plus 195 plus 32 plus 75 plus 92. It is 513. And sigma x2 x3 is 40 here. Sigma x2 square is 75, and sigma x3 square is 65. So here we got the values of sigma x1, sigma x2, sigma x3. That means sigma x1 is 183, sigma x2 is 17, sigma x3 is 19, sigma x1 x2 is 504, sigma x1 x3 is 513, sigma x2 x3 is 40, sigma x2 square is 75, sigma x3 square is 65. And by substituting all these values in the normal equations, we'll get the by solving them, we'll get the values of constants a, b, c. Let's see. First equation is sigma x1. Sigma x1 equals to na plus b sigma x2 plus c sigma x3, and sigma x1 x2 equals to A sigma x2 plus B sigma x2 square plus C sigma x2 x3. And sigma x1 x3 equals to A sigma x3 plus B sigma x2 x3 plus C sigma x3 square. So by substituting the values of these as we calculated them, right? So by substituting them, we'll get the value, and by solving these equations, we'll get the values of constants A, B, C. What the values we got? Sigma x1 equals to, we got 183. Sigma x2 equals to 17. Sigma x3 equals to 19. Sigma x1 x2 is 504. And sigma x2 square sigma x3 square. So how much we got? Sigma x1 x3. Sigma x1 x3 is 513. Sigma x2 x3 is 40. Sigma x2 square is 75, and here it is 65. And by substituting all these values in these three equations, by solving them, we'll get the values of constants. Let's see how we can solve. Here sigma x1 is 183, and here n is number of values. Number of values here is 8. Here n equals to 8. In the table we have 8 records. Yeah, we have 8 records. So here n value is 8. 8, and sigma x2 is 17. Sigma x3 is 19. And D, that is sigma x3, that is 183. And A sigma x2 is 17. Sigma x2 square is 75. Sigma x2 x3 is 40, and sigma x1 x2 is 504. Sigma x3 is 19. Sigma x2 x3 is 40. Sigma x3 square is 65. And sigma x1, x3 is 513. By solving them, we'll get the values of A, B, C. By solving this, we'll get the values of A, B, C. Here we got A value is 7, B value is 3, and C value is 4. That means A value 7, B is 3, and C is 4. And we have the linear regression equation of these, that is x1 equals to A plus C sigma x3. And by substituting ABC values here, we get x1 equals to 7 plus 3x2 plus 4x3. So this is the regression equation of the given variables. Thank you.